Hey everyone, this is Fabriello and welcome back to a new video, and more specifically a video response. And I'm still doing videos with like static images like my latest one, simply because for this specific one it's going to be much better because you need images in here because it's a video response to Shadow Elite HD, the Jrpg God, and more specifically to is top 10 Jrpg Girls. So, oh yeah, we're going to need images in here. Again, some eye candy, I guess, but also like to have an idea of who I'm talking about in my list of my personal favorite Jrpg Girls, which I know that that video it's more than a year old, but hey, there's no expiration date on video responses, and I just saw it recently because I don't know, maybe I didn't see it or I ignored it because oh yeah, whatever, I'll look in another day. I watched it. It's a fun video and say, hey, I want to do my list of JRPG girls, and the list kind of wrote on itself. I mean, it was pretty easy for me to put down my favorite girls from JRPGs, and the thing is, I didn't want this list to be just about looks, while at the same time I didn't want to take it too seriously because, come on. However, obviously looks will play an important role in this because I'm a dude and I like nice girls, naturally, but I also try to also explain why I like specific characters, not based on looks alone. Because if not, I didn't want this to be just a list of female characters with huge boobs or over sexualized or something like that. That's uh, again, as I said, I'm not trying to take it too seriously, but I like my characters in JRPGs, and I'm always find those female characters that I get very attached to for different reasons and not just the looks. So that's why I'm also trying to put some reasoning behind them, but hopefully it's not too, as I say, not too serious, because with some of these entries are definitely not going to be taken too seriously. So again, instead of the top 10, like always, I prefer doing top 12s, just to give a couple more entries, and I like that way. Plus, there are going to be some honorable mentions because I think you cannot exclude these characters from a list like this. And let's just start it because, again, 15 entries, there's a lot to talk about. So we're going to start with a character that you cannot exclude in this sort of lists, even though, unfortunately, in my case, she's just an honorable mention, and that it's Kaine from Nier. I mean, but I'm sorry, Hasi, but there's not enough space for everyone on this. But how can you not have Kaine? I love Nier so much. Next honorable mention is my favorite girl from Persona 4, the only Persona game I've played so far. And that was hard, to be honest. But at the end, I've decided to go for the girl I've basically chosen for my main character, for my avatar to go with during the game, and that is Chie. As I said, that was hard because Persona 4 has some great and attractive female characters in their own way. Like, other than Chie, there's Yukiko, there's Rise, Naoto, all of them. And choosing your favorite Persona waifu, as they called, I mean, yeah, I understand that wars have been fought for much, much less. But in my case, definitely Chie. She's very nice, she's funny, that kung fu movie buff, it's hilarious at times. And she's very nice to spend time with in Persona 4. I mean, all the other girls as well, especially I was very uncertain between Chie and Rise. But if I have to play Persona 4 again some days, which I wouldn't mind at all, I'll probably try and see what's like a relationship with Rise would be. But for now, Chie it's my choice from Persona 4. Next we have Shanoa from Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. As a huge Castlevania fan, it's worth noticing that Shanoa is the only decent and developed female character in the series. I mean, the only other female character worth of being noticed was Sonia Belmont, but she's been removed from the timeline for some reasons. So we left with Shanoa, but I think it's it's like being left in good hands. I mean, she's gorgeous. She has a very cool and dramatic story, and as I've always mentioned, Order Ecclesia, it's my personal favorite Metroidvania game, and the fact that you have an amazing and gorgeous looking character like Shanoa also helps. So um, absolutely love that game, and absolutely love Shanoa. Finally, we have an interesting one. It's something that while I was making this list, I was constantly coming back to her, and I decided to add her an honorable mention for the moment, and that is Inkarose from Tales of Hearts R. I recently finished that game, and I have to say, she was one of the most interesting characters to me, even though she is a villain. Interesting enough to have a villain on this list, not just like a protagonist or something. I really like her design. I like the white silvery hair. It's something typical for anime or JRPGs that I always liked on female characters. I really like her character, even though for the most part she's kind of emotionless because, I guess, spoiler, she's an android. But progressively, and especially throughout the ending of the game, she gets more and more emotional because of her like unbreakable loyalty towards her master. And the thing is, as I said before, she is not only one of the most interesting characters in the game, honestly, but also I think by far the most interesting antagonist in the game. To me, she was by far more interesting than the real villain like Creed, because he was just like a sort of whiny and annoying character, and the fact that he treats Inkarose like trash really annoyed me. Um, and I was hoping up until the end of the game, basically, for a face turn and see Inkarose joining the good guys or sacrificing herself for them or something. But in the grand scheme of things, it was good that she remained loyal to Creed against all odds in a way because of her loyalty. But a great character, even though she's a villain, and really liked her. So after this, we can move to the main list, and we're kicking off at number 12 with Saber from the Fate Extra series, so also known as Red Saber. Um, I am a huge fan of the Fate series, anime especially, but there have been some really good games lately. I'm not interested in the visual novels and all of that. My first Fate game was Fate Extra. And the thing is, I've always thought that Fate has the potential to be a phenomenal JRPG in like a proper sense, like that you can customize yourself as a mage, as a master, then you can choose between the 7 servant classes, maybe even choose some question that will allow you to have different options as the identity of the specific servants, so to have like different heroes for each classes. That would be amazing, I think. But Fate Extra was not like this, but I think it was a first step in the right direction for a Fate video game. The school setting was so-so, to be honest, but I really like the cast of servants that they have in that game. It was different from the usual because I was based on the Fate series, which is a lot of that. It's focused on the Stay Night characters at the time. So to have that game with the different servants, it was a breath of fresh air to me as a Fate fan, and especially to have this Saber. Well, technically there's more than one Saber in the game, but um, it's a cool story element there. But of course, she is the main Saber, the real deal, and absolutely love her design. And especially when you learn about her identity and who she is, it felt perfect. It explained her character, her overdramatic way to talk, and her passion for like beauty and art and all of that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And as I say, I absolutely love her design. Fits perfectly with her identity, and also I loved it at the time. For as far as I knew back then, my only the only other Saber I knew was the blue one, the classic Artoria Saber. So to have this one, who is like identical on a physical level to her, like she looks like her, but her character couldn't be more different. It's something that I always like, this sentence I read on a website that said like Blue Saber is the king who regretted everything, while Red Saber is the emperor who regretted nothing. I say that's perfect as a comparison between the two. And to have this character, like this version of Saber, who is like the antithesis basically of classic Blue Saber, was just perfect. Plus, of course, we all know Saber, it's very, very cute. We love her design. She is a very popular character for a reason. And to this day, she's still my favorite Fate character. I wish the Fate Extra series would have continued the RPG trend, but now it's evolved more into like Dynasty Warriors kind of game, which it's alright. I mean, the Umbral Star is a fun game, even though I just play for 2 hours or something. I wish to go back and finish it one day. And I know there is a sequel. I don't know if they will be released to the West, but it's cool. It seems that Charlemagne will be the main character or something, but we'll see what happens. There's also like a Fate Extra anime series now, Last Encore it's called. Even though Saber there, while it's really funny how they portray, she's a bit too moe to my taste. But she's a really, really cool character, and absolutely, absolutely one of my favorite girls from RPG. Couldn't ignore Red Saber, and the only thing left to say is Hail Saber, Morituri te salutant. At number 11, I was thinking, who is my favorite girl from the Ys series? And that's difficult because there are a lot of cool girls there. But at the end of the day, I was keep coming back to Frida from Ys Memories of Celceta on the PS Vita. Probably she's no one's first choice, but I really, really liked her design. I love those bluish, greenish hair, the purple eyes. I love her character. I mean, she has like some sarcastic, ironic comments here and there. She's, as I say, also she's very cute. I love she's a strong fighter. A really, really nice addition to the Ys cast. Of course, she's just like from a sort of secondary character from just one game. But like most Ys games, there are no recurring characters other than Adol and Doggy, basically, with some exceptions, of course. But I would love the cast of Celceta to come back eventually too, like, because since they recently announced Ys 9, so yay, that's awesome. And as I said, there are so many great female characters from the Ys series. Like, of course, there's everyone's favorite Dana. How can you ignore her? She's the best thing from Ys 8. Who else? I mean, there's Epona. She's a great character from Ys Origin, which is one of my favorite Ys games. She's really cool looking, even though she's not as over-sexualized as others. But she has like very funny segments and a big role in Hugo's story, which is one of the best part of Ys Origin, which is such a good game. But at the end of the day, Frida really took the cake for me, because I said I really like her design. She's a nice character. She's not as developed as others, unfortunately, but as a sort of like mage warrior kind of gal, she's my pick. Next, we're moving to Shin Megami Tensei territory once again, because I already mentioned Persona, but that's not the only Shin Megami Tensei game I've played. Although it's the other one, and that's it. I haven't delved too much into the series yet, and it's something I want to correct in the future by playing more SMT games. The other game I've played, which tackled Persona as my choice, was Devil Survivor 2. And there are a lot of great female characters in here. And at the end, my choice was absolutely Fumi Kanno. So many things about her that I like. I mean, starting from her design, I really like the artwork of Suzuhito Yasuda, the character designer for the Devil Survivor games. just like her Chinese dress, which always very very sexy on certain characters, plus the long coat that she puts on her shoulders like a cape. Also, because of Yasuda design, I love the fact that she's kind of like emotionless, because she's this game's version of a mad scientist, basically. So she's not very interested in people in terms of human beings, but just like, I don't know, a test subjects or something like that. So I really like that about her. There are some very funny moments with Fumi in the game. But yeah, I absolutely love her design. I like her story, actually, because by playing the game you discover more about her. And as I said, there are some other great girls in Devil Survivor 2. Primarily, I would say Makoto was very, very nice. But at the end, I have to give it to Fumi. She's very interesting, a bit different than usual, and really, really good looking, in my opinion. At number 9, I have to think about someone from the Tales series. And again, I haven't played too many games in this. I played most of Tales of Fantasia. I finished Tales of the Abyss, Tales of Hearts, already mentioned. The best female character there to me is Inkarozen. Um, and I played I played 10, 12 hours of Tales of Berseria. But I decided not to go for Velvet, strangely enough, because in terms of female character, there's no comparison. Obviously, my pick is Tyr Grants. She's absolutely gorgeous, and she's an amazing female character overall. Like, her overall story with and relationship with both Luke and her more complicated relationship with Van, it's really, really one of the best elements in the game. Plus, I love the fact that her skills are entirely based on her voice. So whenever she needs to use a skill, she starts singing, and that's very, very cool. Actually, I like that. Plus, like, I remember, like, during the final battle when Tyr has to sing that epic version of her song, there's like organs and everything. It's like, wow, that's really cool. But overall, like, also the fact that she's the only one who sticks by Luke's side from beginning to end, even during Luke's worst moments, um, by like the sort of midsection of the game. Once because of Tyr, in a way, she also wanted to change, and she's by his side up until the end. They're a really nice couple together, especially, of course, once Luke started to become a likable character, it's even better. But I also very like the fact that Tyr she always tries to show herself as a very tough and very very tough is the best thing, because she's been trained as a soldier, so she doesn't want to show any form of weakness, but at the same time sometimes she cannot help it, and she likes cute stuff, especially Mew. So sometimes she just have you can read her thoughts or something, and it's perfect for a character like her. And I think they kind of missed an opportunity with the character of Loretta. They could have explored her relationship with Tyr a bit more. There are some hints here and there that I think, if I remember correctly, she's actually most likely Tyr's mother. But I think overall she was a very underused character among the villains, but that was just me. But overall, Tyr, as I said, she's gorgeous. She has an amazing backstory, great abilities, and also her looks. Like, I love the way she has her hair done, like with those covering her eye. Really, really cool character, and to me, the most memorable female character from the Tales series so far, because I still have many to play, many, many more games to play in this iconic series. Number 8, this was challenging, because I was thinking, who is my favorite Final Fantasy girl? And no, I'm not picking Tifa, which is the go-to for many, many of you guys, but because I didn't like her. Yes, sure, she's attractive. She's a pair of walking tits, basically. But that's about it. When I played the game, she wasn't interesting. one thing I don't like about Final Fantasy VII is the cast of characters. I didn't like them. So again, yeah, Tifa it's attractive, sure, but as I said, at least it's in part not all about looks. Um, so with that said, there are still so many good-looking and interesting characters in this huge series. Um, but at the end of the day, here we actually have the only case of a tie in this. Maybe it's cheating, but it's my list, so I don't care because I couldn't pick one between these two from my two favorite Final Fantasy games, which are of course as you know 6 and 9. So that could give a hint, but of course I'm talking about Terra from Final Fantasy VI, easily to me the most iconic and best girl from the Final Fantasy series, and at the same time I couldn't ignore Beatrix from Final Fantasy IX. And let's start with her, because probably most of you will be like, really, Beatrix? And again, like Tyr, it's a combination of different elements. I love her design and I love her character. The fact that she's always like fighting between her duty and her emotions, but at the same time, as I said, she's an absolute beast. I mean, there's also that part where we say like once I single-handedly killed more than 100 knights and all of that, and she is an absolute example of a one-woman army, and I really like that in my JRPG characters, that she has something interesting to offer other than her good looks. But as I said, I love the cover eye, their design, her relationship with the other characters such as Garnet, Dagger, or Steiner. Really, really memorable character, and one of the best female characters from Final Fantasy IX, and a really amazing female character from the Final Fantasy series. Again, maybe not a protagonist or something, but memorable nonetheless. And what can I say? What can I say about Terra? I mean, as I said, to me she is the most iconic Final Fantasy character in terms of like female characters. I mean, she's like her design is stunning. Since especially already in the Super Nintendo version of the game, I love like the green hair and the mystery surrounding her, and then progressively understand like the whole thing with the Espers and her relationship with Kefka and her role in the entire story. It's just fantastic. Absolutely love her. Terra is, as I said, to me, she is the most iconic Final Fantasy female character. And there are also others. I mean, a really cool one, though in this case, looks were a disadvantage for her, was Yuna, for example. She's easily the main character, the best character from Final Fantasy X, and the real protagonist. But I don't know, I didn't like her very much from an aesthetic point of view, but that's just me. Uh, I mentioned her before, like Garnet herself. It's very nice from Final Fantasy IX. Ash from Final Fantasy XII is a great character. Again, the real protagonist of that game. Of course, there's Lightning, everyone's favorite. But definitely at number 8, although a tie, we got the best Final Fantasy girls, which are Terra and Beatrix. Number 7, we're moving to the Parasite Eve series and Aya Brea. One of my earlier like video game crushes, we might say, like on the PlayStation 1, when I played Parasite Eve 1 and 2, I absolutely love this character, and really love her design, like the kind of bleach blonde hair, the no-nonsense attitude, because she is a badass cop in the first game, and then a sort of secret agent in the second game. She's a really cool character. Again, maybe not over sexualized up until the third birthday, when they made her look like this, which I'm not complaining, but at the same time, though, you have to say, a bit of a spoiler, like this is and it isn't Aya, although it is her body, so technically it's complicated. The third birthday has a weird story, but yeah, she looks like this. And of course, like if you take too much damage, the clothes are getting ripped off and all of that. Yeah, Japanese game developers, I guess. But I especially love her in the second episode. I mean, I love her design, especially from the dry field moment. So when she has this, like the black short dress and the jeans jacket, I really liked it. And but again, it's a mix between her good looks and her badass attitude that made Aya a very, very iconic female character. And that's also one thing that a lot of people complain about Third Birthday, that Aya, it's not as a badass as she used to be. But that's the thing, as I said, it's not really her. So I can understand that. But absolutely a memorable, unforgettable female character, Aya Brea. Number 6, and this was again very challenging because I was thinking, who's my favorite Fire Emblem girl? And there are so many. I mean, from Fire Emblem Awakening, of course, I know of Tharja, naturally, again, another fan favorite, just based on looks alone. But yeah, I mean, she's nice, and I think she's hilarious as a stalker, and the fact that she always casts X's or anything like that. But she's not my pick. So because with Fire Emblem, I was keep going back to this character that, again, as I said, it's not just about looks, also like the overall impact of the character. And we're going back to Shadow Dragon for this, and more specifically, my go-to girl from the Fire Emblem series has to be Minerva. I absolutely loved her looks from the first moment I saw her, like her sprites and all of that. Like, for example, like, even though she's not as over sexualized as other female characters, like, of course, like Camilla from Fates, like, again, as I read somewhere, she's a walking pair of tits or something like that, or talking tits, actually. The Minerva is nothing like that, but she looks amazing, I think, like her armor, the red hair, because I love red hairs, and the fact she's like a war-hardened princess. I mean, she has, as I said, she is a princess, so she has this aura of nobility and royalty, but also she's been toughened by battles and war, and the fact that she isn't, again, like Beatrix from Final Fantasy IX, she is a beast on the battlefield. I remember, like, she left such an impact on me because on the mission in Shadow Dragon, when she made her appearance, I think I had to redo that mission at least 7 times or something, because I keep losing, because if I try to attack her, she just annihilate my army on her own, basically. And then I didn't want to kill her because I was there, I think there's something here I should trigger in order to start the recruitment process. And then I figured out what I have to do. And once I recruited her, Minerva was just basically stronger than my entire army combined. She was like the tip of the spear. I put her like in front of my army. The enemies charged at her, and she just mowed them down. I can imagine someone's coming, like, bam, dead. Who's next? This was Minerva. Like, even with like boss battles, I mean, I like, oh, it's tough, no problem. Minerva, boom, 2 hits, dead. It's amazing. Plus, like, she rides dragons. Like, how cool is that? So I saw she's also as a DLC or something in Fire Emblem Warriors, so that's really cool. And I also like really much love her story. Like, she's the middle princess of Macedon. She has this interesting relationship with her brother siblings, like her older brother, who's like leading the kingdom to ruin, and her little sister. So she's a really cool character. I think she's absolutely gorgeous looking, especially in Shadow Dragon. Because she's also as you know, Shadow Dragon is a remake of the first Fire Emblem game, and in that one, since it's a very old game, it's not a very it's not the best appearance of Minerva, but hey, it's an 8-bit game or something. So of course, like, Minerva from Shadow Dragons to Warriors, Heroes, all of that, it's my go-to JRPG, my go-to girl for Fire Emblem. Number five, we have 2B. What do I need to say about 2B? It's 2B from Nier Automata. Let's move on. God, Nier Automata, it's so good. Number 4. This was again very hard because I was thinking, who's my favorite girl from the Breath of Fire series? My personal favorite JRPG series of all time. This was hard because there are a bunch of really cool and awesome characters. You can start from all the various incarnations of Nina, the main female character of the series. There's Kat from Breath of Fire 2, there's Ursula from Breath of Fire 4, there's Lyn from Breath of Fire 5. But at the end of the day, I had no doubts, actually, because my favorite female character of the entire series, and her also, it's naturally Nina from Breath of Fire 2. It's her best incarnation. She looks absolutely stunning, I think. And I mean, just look at her. She's just angelic with those wings and that. But also, when you start discovering the truth about those black wings, the story behind her, and the impact they had on Nina and her family, it's a very tragic and sad story, but it's amazing considering it was done on the Super Nintendo. But it's such an amazing character with a great story, and especially the interaction with her sister Mina. As I said, very tragic. And also, speaking of tragic, because there are a lot of tragic moments in the Breath of Fire series, but I think 2 and 1 might be that might have some of the saddest moments, and 2 in particular. As I said, the overall story of Nina, it's very sad on its own, but then you have a choice in the game between Nina and Kat as the love interest for Ryu. If you choose Nina and you decide to go for some reason to the bad ending of the game, I think it's one of the most heartbreaking thing you'll ever see. Or mean, to me, it was one of the saddest ending in a game I ever experienced. I didn't cry, but I was very close to it, because you have Ryu sacrifice himself. I mean, of course, like, huge spoilers here if you haven't played Breath of Fire 2 for some ungodly reason. Ryu sacrifices himself, decided to seal the entrance to basically this hellish dimension, let's say, from which the demons will come. Basically, he takes the place of his mother. So if you and as I say, he transforms into the Kaiser Dragon, seals the gate, and then falls asleep. He fell asleep for all his life, basically. He will never wake up again. So that's already very sad. But then, if you chosen Nina as his love interest, she comes on her own to Ryu, and she talks to him, and then she hugs the dragon and saying, like, you are my only and you are my best and only friend, or something like that. I was like, oh my god, the emotions with that sad 16-bit music. It was amazingly sad, really heartbreaking, but unforgettable character, gorgeous looking, and with an unforgettable story. Nina from Breath of Fire 2. Number 3, we got, she's like potential number 1, actually. Co-number 1 in a way, even though she's just a number 3. This thing makes sense in my mind, but again, very difficult. Who is the best girl from my other favorite RPG series, The Legend of Heroes? And that's difficult because there are a million, there's a ton of great female characters there. Starting from the Gaga trilogy, like there is Rutis from Tear of Vermilion, amazing characters. Lucius, so cool, even though she's not as developed as she could have been. Unforgettable character there. Estelle, of course. How can you not have Estelle? From Trails in the Sky. There is Sarah and Laura from Trails of Cold Steel, my 2 favorites there, and many others. But at the end of the day, again, no doubts in my mind, she is one of my favorite female characters in JRPG in general. And naturally, I'm talking about Sherazard Harvey. Uh, think she's absolutely gorgeous looking. Plus, she has an amazing story and some amazing moments in the game. As I said, she looks stunning with like the dark skins, the silver hair, the gypsy look, very, very attractive. Plus, as I said, she's a great character in its own, like her relationship with different characters in the series, from starting from Estelle and Joshua, she's a sort of big sister to them. But then, of course, you have the some of the best moments in the Trails in the Sky series actually come from the interaction between Sherazade and Oliver, especially their drinking sessions. Those are gold, absolutely hilarious. And these two characters, they balance each other so perfectly. Especially then there is this scene in the third when Aina is involved, and it's absolutely hilarious. But um, also like her relationship with Luciola of Ouroboros, it's really, really interesting when you start knowing all there's to know about her between second chapter and the third. She's a really, really well developed character. Plus, as I said, she's gorgeous looking. And after playing the third, I was really sad that in the next like 4 games there's no trace of Sherazade. I mean, there are some cameos of other characters from the Trails in the Sky games here and there, between the Crossbow games and the first 3 Trails of Cold Steel games. But then there's these. I saw the trailer for Cold Steel 4, and Charizard's there, and she's back and better than ever. Okay, I don't know why I'm putting these wrestling references here and there. It's cool, but she looks, as I said, really, really cool in Cold Steel 4. Cannot wait to know more about her and her role in that. I hope they reunite with Oliver and have another drinking session because, as I said, those are amazing. But as I said, absolutely one of my favorite female characters in JRPGs in general, Sherazade Harvey from the Legend of Heroes series. There goes my usual siren. And we're also close to the end of the video. That's annoying. Number two, it's a very interesting choice, I think, and it shows how personal these kind of lists are. Number 2, we actually have Regina from Dino Crisis, and you're saying, what are you talking about? That's not an RP, that's not a JRPG, it's a survival horror game. Haha, that's the catch. Regina actually was in a JRPG, a pretty obscure one, but still a JRPG nonetheless. She was a character in Namco X Capcom, a strategy RPG on the PS2, released only in Japan. Very specific, I know, but it counts, so suck my dick, I guess. Alright, let's move on. Regina, you can say that she's kinda my first video game crush, in a way, because I don't know what it was, kinda, but when I played Dino Crisis, one of the reasons, other than it's a fantastic game on its own, but one of the reasons why I really like Regina, it's because of her looks. The way she's dressed with like that sort of sexy military infiltration uniform or whatever it is, but with those bright red hair, and as I said, I love my redheads, and there's something like magnetic about her. Plus, of course, the fact that she's an absolute badass. She's sarcastic, she hunts dinosaurs, she travels through time. I don't know what else do you need from an amazing female heroine, I guess. But absolutely one of my favorite female characters of all time. Even though she's from a survival horror and there's this sort of cameo, she's like one of many characters from those crossover kind of games. So it's not that she has this amazing development, but in a way it's not necessary, because like she's a secret agent, you don't know anything about her. Like Regina, I guess it's her code name, not her real name. And the thing about her, she had such an impact on me that every time that I can create a character like in a JRPG or whatever, if I create a female character, she is my model, my skin, let's say. Like for example, in Mass Effect, my female shepherd was called Regina Shepherd, and I had looking like her with the short red, bright red hair. And it worked perfectly. I absolutely love my Sam Shepherd because it reminded me of Regina. So, absolutely a memorable, very personal, memorable character. At number 2, you got Regina. Number one, this again, I had no doubts. As I say, Sherazade is very close, even though she's at number 3. It's a sort of like 1.5 in reality. But this character, she's on this list. She's on this list primarily because of the massive impact it had on me. But also, I also consider her very attractive. But she's not one of those over-sexualized female character. I mean, probably there are some more attractive characters out there, even though, as I said, she is a good-looking woman. But the fact is, her story is what really left an impact on me and made me care about her so much. And that is, of course, Rose from Legend of Dragoon. Her story, it's one of the main reasons, in my opinion, to play Legend of Dragoon, this huge epic game, easily one of the best JRPGs on the PS1 and one of my favorite games of all time. The thing that really captured me about it, other than its massive, excellent story, was the characters, and Rose naturally stole the show to me. She is so many things in this game. She started as the mentor for the main protagonist, Dart, in this history and his training as what the Dragoons actually are. But also at the same time, she's very distant. She's a very serious kind of character. She doesn't open up with the rest of the team up until later in the game. She progressively starts to show some emotions. She has some sort of feelings towards Dart, but not in that sense. And that's the interesting part, because once you start to know, and once she fully opened up, there's that scene, for example, I remember I love that, when after the ghost ship, because there is a ghost ship in Legend of Dragoon. It was a very cool story there. Because that's when you start to know more about Rose. You start to asking, the pieces coming together there. It's pretty obvious in a way, but I really like the pacing there. And when they're stranded on this island together, you can see Rose starting to get attached to him in a way. She trusts him, and everything, like from that moment, when you, as I say, Rose starts to opens up and tell her story. It's just amazing. Like the whole story of the black monster, it's awesome. I love it. And of course, by the end, you fully realize how tragic the story of Rose actually is. Because again, huge spoilers, but it's important to understand why I love this character so much. Like, she is actually one of the original Dragoons. So she's like more than 11,000 years old in reality. But she's like immortal in the sense that she cannot die of old age and stuff like that. And her mission is basically to prevent the return of, what's it called? Like the embryo of the Virago or something like that, the seed of the Virago, like this basically thing of mass destruction created by the real villain of the game, from that will cause like the apocalypse basically. And this thing every generation will reincarnate in someone, and it's up to Rose to kill that someone. So she has killed countless innocent people, including destroy an entire village in order to protect humanity in reality. So she has lost everything. She has lost her friends, her lover, and she's just this sort of like completely into this mission until she started to open to Dart mainly. It's a fantastic story, and by the end, of course, after that epic final battle, which takes a bit, I don't know, 3 hours basically, since the final boss has one form after the other, it's really, really never ending there. But once you manage to beat Melbuframa, the ending sequence, let's say the final cutscene, and that the final credits are just epic and amazing, especially if you're into these characters, especially Rose. She plays a vital role in that, because by that point I was so attached to these characters, and when Rose sacrificed herself, it felt tragic. I was there, no, Rose, don't do it, oh my god, don't do it. But at the same time it felt right, because as she said herself, something like my time ended a long time ago, something like that, and she sacrificed herself together with Zeke in order to save the others, and almost like acknowledge that she has no place in the world now, and her mission is accomplished. So the only thing missing is to finally be reunited with Zeke and her friends. And then there is that wonderful like credit sequence with that amazing music. And when you see the two seagulls flying together with those colors, you say, oh, finally Zeke and Rose are together now. And of course then you see the two dragoon gems, the red one and the purple one, and it's like, ah, finally. Because to me, Rose is also like part of the greatest love story in video games, or at least I really liked it. Like her and Zeke, it's like a love so strong that lasted for 10,000 years and all of that. That she's a fantastic character, absolutely unforgettable. I mean, she is potentially my favorite female character of all time because of both her looks and her story, her design. Like, I absolutely love her armor, her weird sword, her dragoon form. She's like the dragoon of darkness. She has all these hellish powers, basically. Uh, I absolutely fell in love with Rose when I played Legend of Dragoon, and as I said, it's one of the reasons why I'm so obsessed with this game. So there you have it, my top 12 plus some honorable mentions, female characters, my top 12 JRPG girls. Definitely let me know what you think. Do video responses, comments, check Shadow Elite HD video. I mean, it's a big channel, of course, but I'll have the link to the video in the description down below, so definitely check that out. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time, and take care.